Hi everyone. So today I'll be telling you the story of Cain and Abel. So in the previous video I told you about Adam and Eve and how God made them and created them, the first man and woman, and how they were driven out of the Garden of Eden. So now this is following that. Okay, Adam and Eve had obviously had sexual relations because they were husband and wife, and Eve conceived and she gave birth to her first son, whom she called Cain. And she said, I'm going to read, you can find all this from Genesis chapter 4. And she said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. Then again, she conceived and she gave birth to a second son, whom she called Abel. So Abel was the second child and Cain was the first child. Now I'm guessing over the years, naturally they grew into their profession. With Cain being the farmer and with Abel being a shepherd. So both of them decided to give an offering unto the Lord, okay, which is an offering is basically almost like a present, like a thank you unto God. And I'm going to read, okay? So, and in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruits to the Lord. And Abel also brought the firstborn of his flock. Okay? And the Lord accepted Abel's offering, but rejected Cain's offering. That's a key ingredient. And then what happens next is that Cain was very angry and his countenance fell. So this is the first recording that we see in the Bible of jealousy. Okay. So the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, this is a very important part. Listen again. This can be found in Genesis 4, okay, the 7th verse. So Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, then sin lies at the door, and its desires is for you, but you should rule over it. So right there, I think that's a piece that we constantly miss. For me reading this, what I get from it is Cain's offering was rejected because of his state of heart. Because God said, if you did right, I would have accepted your gift. So that implies that there were some things that were going on in Cain's life that God was not okay with. Okay, that's important because I find that sometimes people imply that it was the size of the gift that made God accept Abel's and reject Cain's. But that's not what I'm getting from the scripture. What I'm getting from the scripture is that it was the state of heart in which Cain gave the gift versus the state of heart in which Abel gave his gift. Okay, and so God tries to speak some sense into Cain, like, listen, you really need to chill. You really need to relax and stop being angry. If you do the right thing, listen, I will accept you. But you have sin knocking at your door. And usually in the scripture, when it talks about door, it's talking about your heart. You have sin knocking at your door. And he says it wants you to feed. Sin wants you for itself. But you need to overcome it. You need to rule over it. Okay, I'm going to continue reading for a little while. So now Cain talked with Abel, his brother. Okay, and it came to pass that when they were in the field, Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. This is what happens when we let jealousy and anger breathe inside of us. Okay, so God tried to console Cain, or rather correct Cain and try to keep him in check. But Cain instead decides to talk with Abel and basically leads to him murdering his brother Abel. That's the first time in the Bible that we hear of one human being killing another. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading. Of course, the Lord sees all things. So the Lord then said to Cain, where is Abel, your brother? And Cain said, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? See? He seemed not to care, and being very deceptive. And then God said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a vagabond you shall be on the earth. So that was God's curse to Cain. And then Cain said to God, the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground. I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth. And it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me. And look at how God responds. God is so merciful. In spite of what Cain did, in spite of everything, God responds mercifully to him after the curse. And he says this. And the Lord said, therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on the person that kills Cain sevenfold. And the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one would kill him. So there you go. That's a merciful God that we serve. So even in the story of Cain and Abel, which shows human flaw and human emotions, and essentially the first murder between human beings in the Bible, we still see God showing compassion onto the murderer. So I think that's an essential piece to take out, and also to realize that sin doesn't just grow in one day most of the time. It takes a lot of time and it builds up, and God is always tugging us in our heart. Relax, 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 chill. Just change your ways. Go do the right thing. You don't want sin to keep growing to the point that it becomes something else. It went from whatever other sin that was knocking at his heart, right? It went from that to his gift not being accepted, to then jealousy, to then anger, and then finally he killed his brother. So I will hope you guys have a blessed day. Take care.